Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over Dark Knights of Steel. Now, guys, let me say that this story is amazing. It is truly a beautiful story. Now, before we dive into today's storyline, there are a couple things I do want to say before we dive into the opening pages. The first is that I'm still sick, so unfortunately, I may sound a tad bit off. If I do, please forgive me. I'm trying my best to recover. Now, technically, I do feel better, but you know how it is when you're sick. You might have some good days and you might have some bad days. So, today is a good day, and I'm hoping tomorrow will also be a good day as well. Now, with that being said, the second thing is that when it comes to our coverage over this storyline, each video should cover at least 3 issues, except part 3. And here's the reason why. Because part 3 is a special issue. It came out before issue number 7 did. And I kind of want to cover that issue alone. But then the last 2 videos should again pick up with 3 issues each to wrap up our coverage over this entire storyline. And so, as we get into the opening pages of the 4th chapter of this storyline, we do pick up where our last video had left off at, beginning to learn the origin of Bruce Wayne in this reality, because we had learned that Bruce Wayne is actually the son of Jor-El, meaning that he is the half brother to Kal-El in this reality. Now, on top of that, we also learned that originally the Waynes were the leader of the kingdom, but somehow the elves became the ruler of the kingdom. And we have no idea what exactly went down. Now, at the end of our last video, Alfred and Bruce found a piece of kryptonite. And when they did, of course, it did affect Bruce because he is half Kryptonian. Now, Alfred was able to contain the kryptonite, but now is Alfred saying, let me explain what went down between your actual father, Jor-El, and of course, your mother, Martha Wayne. And so this begins a flashback. Now, with this flashback, it does pick up right after you had the elves arrived on Earth, Jor-El and Lara. Now, when they had arrived, their main goal was to stay hidden from the rest of the world, to protect themselves, but to also protect their baby, Kal-El. Now, with that being said, while they were hidden, they were able to learn everything about the Earth from the people around them. Now, they had landed in the kingdom of the Waynes, but either way, while being there, they learned the language, they learned the culture of the people around them. But again, they stayed hidden, and everything was going great for them until the earth began to shake. Now, for Jor-El, he believed that this was going to be another Krypton situation. The earth is going to blow up. But you did have our 2 heroes realize, our 2 characters, not heroes yet, our 2 characters realize what was happening nearby them. It was actually a volcano that was soon going to erupt. And that is a huge problem. And so with this kingdom soon to erupt, you had Jor-El make a game plan to kind of help out the kingdom to protect itself from the volcano. The problem is that he gave his plan over to Lex Luthor. Now for Lex Luthor, he was the advisor for the Waynes, but he hated the idea that he was outsmarted by other people. And so he took the plans that Jor-El gave him and just burned them and be all like, no, we don't need your plans at all. If anything happens at all, I will be there to save the day, not you at all. But of course, when it came time for the volcano to erupt, now the kingdom no longer has a plan to protect themselves from the volcano. And so you have Jor-El freaking out, wondering, did Luthor hand over the plans? And of course, Luthor did not. Now, for Jor-El, he begins to freak out. But you also have Laura there as well. And with the 2 of them being there, they're kind of showing off their different abilities. And you have the Waynes being very confused on what in the world is going on here. But you did have Laura hand over Kal-El to Martha and say, watch over my baby for me while we handle this situation. And so you have the elves go out of their way to use their powers to protect the kingdom from the volcano. And everything worked out. And this begun the whole idea of these 2 people becoming very loved in the kingdom. But for Lex Luthor, he was kicked out of the kingdom for what he had done. Apparently, there was something else hidden inside the kingdom that Lex Luthor found. And so once he found a special rock, it lit up very bright. And so we're kind of left to believe that the Green Man, the Green Lantern, is most likely Lex Luthor in this reality. But after that, with the elves now being heroes of the kingdom, they became very close with the Waynes. Very, very close. Because, well, it took only one special night between Jor-El and, of course, Martha as well. And that led into the birth of Bruce Wayne. Now, with that being said, the kingdom knows that Thomas was not able to give Martha a child. And also, that part right there is very important. And you'll see why here in a moment. But of course, at first, it did seem like everything was going to fall apart in both relationships until Bruce was born. And once he was born, everything changed because for Thomas, he was now technically a father. And the same thing goes for, well, Martha. And so you have the two couples being able to continue on with one another. But after a few years have passed by, we do pick up both families heading over to the home of the Amazons, Amazonia. Now, before they are able to get there, they do get attacked by Lex Luthor, or the Joker, the Green Man, a very unique combination here. Now, with that being said, this is the moment where we see the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Now, before Martha passed on, she tells the elves, "You are now the leader of this kingdom. Like, it's now yours." Now, you're probably wondering why not Bruce? Because remember, Bruce is not the son of Thomas Wayne, and the kingdom knows that Thomas was not able to give Martha a child. And so, with that being said, they're kind of like the people are not ready to follow Bruce because of who he actually is. They know that he comes from another man. And so, it's your kingdom for now until Bruce is old enough. And I'm hoping by then the people will then be ready to take him as their king. And then she dies. And so as we go back to the present day, we pick up with Alfred and Bruce. Now, it's these two characters saying like, listen, we have to work together to fight a way to stop the war that's coming very soon between the two kingdoms. And hopefully we can find a way to stop that war from actually coming. Now, as we get into the 5th chapter of this series, we do pick up with Zala. Now, Zala is, of course, a Supergirl of this reality, but also the sister to, well, both Bruce and Kal-El. Now, this is her just finally coming back home after hearing what happened to their father. Now, for Kal-El, he's kind of like, where have you been? And she says she's been out there trying to find the Green Man. Now, we know that's not technically true all the way because she was out there doing some crazy things. But again, it's her saying like, no, I was out there trying my best to find the Green Man. And unfortunately, I was not able to find him. But now we have to jump over to Harley Quinn. Now, when we do, is Harley Quinn going over to a nearby forest? Now, when she does, we do learn that this forest belongs to, of course, Poison Ivy. Now, what they want to do is use Poison Ivy as a way to protect the kingdom of the elves from the future attacks on the Amazon and also the kingdom of the storms. Now, here's the thing. For Poison Ivy, she's not really trying to help out the elves at all, but she will because of Harley Quinn. The whole idea of these two characters being in love with one another. Really more of Poison Ivy being madly in love with Harley Quinn. And it kind of seems like Harley Quinn is not really ready to commit all her love over to Poison Ivy. But while you have the two ladies talking and coming to an agreement, that is when you have Ivy say somebody's flying nearby and heading over to the castle of the elves. And that person could be a threat to the kingdom. And so you have Ivy use her powers as a way to bring down the supposed person. And that would be Diana. Now, for me, this is kind of cool because we're finally seeing Poison Ivy being able to go up against Diana and kind of show how powerful she truly is if she's able to kind of just let loose. And so for Diana, she's not really able to take on Poison Ivy like she would in the main DC universe. Now, once you have Poison Ivy being able to capture Diana, you have Harley asking Diana, why are you here for? Why in the world are you heading over to the Castle of the Elves? And you have Diana say, because Zala has been accused of something really bad. And of course, that thing could lead into a war between all the kingdoms. So once you have Zala and also Diana being able to sit down with one another, you did have Diana tell Zala what she'd been accused of. The whole idea that she had killed off the prince of the kingdom of storms. And so once you have Zyla hear that, she's kind of like, wait, there's no way that me have killed so young boy. Why in the world would I do that? But again, it's Diana saying what she had heard from other people, like Lois Lane. And so that whole accusation could lead into a war between all the kingdoms. And so once you have Bruce being able to find Kal-El, it's Bruce telling Kal-El two different things. The first is that, well, he found a piece of Krypton. Of course, that'd be the kryptonite he found in the last video. But also, it's Bruce saying like, hey, so you and I are technically brothers. Like, we are brothers thanks to Jor-El. Now, you would think like, okay, cool. Kal-El would try to go out of his way to accept the fact that he has a brother. Yeah, no. You had Kal-El take that piece of kryptonite, use it as a weapon to attack Bruce, and then once he does stab Bruce with the kryptonite, you did have Kal-El slam Bruce back into the ground, hoping to kill him off. But it's also Kal-El telling Bruce it's their time to rule this world. And then Kal-El leaves. Now you would think like, okay, cool. This is where Bruce is going to die. Incorrect so fast because we actually see that he is found by the Kents. Yes, the Kents in this reality are still just farmers and they find Bruce just laying there in need of help. And so you have the Kents go out of their way to actually help Bruce out. And then they take him over to his house or their house. But now we have to jump into the third chapter. Now, when we do, we pick up with Constantine. Now, remember, Constantine is inside the kingdom of storms. He was the right-hand man for Jefferson, the last king who died off in the third chapter. Killed off in the third chapter. But either way, for Constantine, he is grieving because they had lost their king. Now, we also get our first look of Tim Drake in this reality. Because remember, the Robins in this reality, they're spies. And so for Tim Drake, he was a spy for Batman in the Kingdom of Storms. Now we also learned here that for Constantine, he was madly in love with Jefferson. Now for me personally, I didn't get that in the first three chapters. I thought like, hey, they were just best friends, but that is it. But apparently they were not they. Really more Constantine was madly in love with Jefferson. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to Tim Drake being a spy, Constantine knew that Tim Drake was a spy. But at the same time, when it came to Constantine, he has been trying his best to prevent the prophecy coming into life. And so he had been giving Tim false information, or sometimes giving Tim the right information to hopefully prevent a war from happening between all the kingdoms. But either way, it's Constantine saying, well, look, all my plans had failed. So there's no point of having you around anymore, Tim Drake. And so you have Constantine go out of his way to attack Tim Drake, where you have Jennifer appear and be able to easily take out Tim Drake. Now, after doing that, you did have Jennifer and also Constantine send Tim Drake back home to the House of El. And so once you have Tim Drake being able to get back over to the Castle of Elves, he does tell everybody what he has been hearing about what Zala did to the Prince of the Kingdom of Storms. But here's the thing, because everybody else in the room right now, except for Harley Quinn, believes that the people have been lying to Tim Drake because, well, everyone apparently knew that he was a spy, or Constantine knew that he was a spy. But it's Tim saying, no, I had asked way too many people for all those people to be involved in trying to trick me. So no, everyone heard the same thing or saw the same thing. Zala had killed off the prince of the kingdom of storms. So who's lying right now? All those people are your daughter. Now, really, it's Harley Quinn saying that right there. And that's Harley Quinn playing a dangerous game because it's now her saying, like, hey, Zala could be lying. Zala could be a killer. Now, for Laura, she's kind of like, hey, Harley, you're playing a very dangerous game. Now, when it comes to Amanda Waller, she says, hey, listen, Diana and Zala, their bond is really unbreakable. Now, she does tell Laura this in private. She says, listen, if we are able to get rid of Hippolyta, that means Diana becomes the new queen of the Amazons. And once it's done right there, we'll have the Amazons on our side because of that bond between Zala and Diana. But now we pick up with Superman or Kal-El, and you have Kal-El ask Jimmy Olsen, like, hey, have anyone seen Batman? Of course, that's a no right there because the Batman is with the Kents. But when it comes to Clark, he's going to leave right now to go somewhere else to hopefully stop this war from coming into action. Now we have to jump back over to Constantine. Now, when we do, is Constantine summoning Etrigan the demon. But here's the thing, because in this reality, the human that had bonded with the demon is, of course, Ra's al Ghul, which honestly makes a lot of sense because he is known as the demon head. But with that being said, is Constantine right now trying to make a deal with Ra's al Ghul to bring somebody back to life? So we kind of find out that Constantine wants to bring back both Jefferson and his son, the prince. But here's the problem though. Jefferson was badly injured by Zala in the earlier chapter. So is Ra's al Ghul saying, like, dude, listen, I can't bring him back to life, but I can bring the prince back to life. But there's a catch though. You see, if I'm able to do this, you have to give me something in return. And of course, for Ra's al Ghul, what he wants is the Titans. Now, we have not seen the Titans yet, but apparently he wants the Titans as a way to say, I'll go ahead and bring the prince back to life for you. That is my deal. Take it or leave it. Now, getting back over to Kal-El, you have Kal-El going over to Amazonia to talk to Hippolyta. Now, here's the thing, because we have to remember that men are not allowed to set foot on the land at all. And so when you have Kal-El arrive, at first, they look at him as an enemy. Now, you do have the different Amazons fight against him, where you do have Kal-El being able to hold his own against all of them. But then you have Hippolyta up here. And you have Hippolyta not give Kal-El a chance to talk because she does pull out this weapon and she is able to stab Kal-El just like that to easily take him out. And this kind of leads into the ending of today's video because we now see Kal-El being able to meet up with Lois Lane. Now, when he does, we have to remember that this is the first time these two characters are meeting one another. Now, while you have the two characters having a conversation, we do learn that for Kal-El, he's currently being tied up with the lasso of truth. So, of course, he's not allowed to basically lie. We also learned that when it comes to Hippolyta, she had used a sword that had magic all around it. So, of course, it was able to stab Kal-El very easily. Now, once again, you have Kal-El coming here saying, like, listen, I'm trying to prove that my sister did not kill anybody at all. I am trying my best to stop a war from actually happening. But you have Lois say, oh, Kal-El, you're too late. Because the forces of the Amazon, the forces of the storms, they're heading over to your kingdom right now. The war is about to begin very soon. And this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.